But if change is not happening in the streets, if the police are not treating our folks differently, then we're not actually achieving change. And so in order to create change, we actually have to shift some of the power imbalances in communities and in the site where these problems are occurring. And then last, I want to throw out this question of what we mean by systemic change. Usually, a lot of folks who talk about systemic change are talking about changing laws and policies on the books. I would throw out, and I think the groups, the Justice Committee and the groups that are in People's Justice would assert that the criminalization of specific communities on an institutional and cultural level, the fact that this criminalization allows people with more power and privilege to turn the other cheek at best to abusive policing, the way that we generally understand what safety is today, and the power imbalances that we live with on a daily basis are a deeper rooted part of the system than just what's on the books. So we need strategies that focus on shifting the balance of power and transforming the culture that validates that imbalance. So to talk a little bit more concretely, some of the work that we're engaging, and it's not just the Justice Committee or the People's Justice Organizations, but many of the groups in the campaign are doing Know Your Rights education and outreach in some way. This can look like doing workshops in spaces like this, or even on a street corner or in schools. It also looks like some more creative forms of getting the message out. And I'll show you a few images of some of the public artwork we're doing in 1 second. So why do we do this work? And this is actually a question that comes up for us a lot when we go and talk to young folks on the corner, or go and do a workshop for a community organization or a religious institution and their congregation. People say, well, why is it important to know your rights? Because the cops are going to do what they want anyway. They always do. So for us, this is about providing the community with some tools that if you know your rights and assert them in a certain way, there's a good chance that it may help keep you safer in that interaction. It's not going to stop police violence. It may not keep you safer, but at least we're putting some more tools in each other's pockets. Secondly, for us, this is one of the points of first contact that we have. The worst point of first contact is when people come to us and say, my son was killed by the police, or my brother was beat up yesterday. For us, if we can start talking to people doing Know Your Rights trainings, that's actually a lot better. And again, this is where, if we are engaging a popular education model, this is actually how we learn about the issue. And of course, once we get to start talking to people, that's how we're going to inspire people to get involved. So can I ask, actually, Age, can you flip open the lens cap on the projector? Maybe not. Okay. Well, so what I'm gonna show you anyway. So what I want to show you is some of the public artwork that People's Justice, the coalition, has been doing, actually with support from the Center for Constitutional Rights. I just brought the images because I don't like talking about art without having some images. But maybe at some point they'll get up and y'all can take a look. So basically what we're doing is we've been posting billboards and working with community-based artists to paint community murals in neighborhoods that are, actually, you can, if you just click enter, I think it should run on a So putting up, and you'll see some images of some of the billboards and murals. What is this meant to do? First of all, it's meant to be a complement to the Know Your Rights workshops that we're doing. It's a way to transmit knowledge, right? And visual art communicates in a way that's different than the written or spoken word. But I think in some ways, on a more important level, it's about intervention. Every day, low-income New Yorkers of color confront the prospect of being wrongfully stopped, frisked, harassed, arrested, injured, and being killed by the police. For those who have gone through traumatic police experiences, seeing police in their communities every day means the possibility of reliving that trauma is ever present. So for us, our hope is that our public art can, at least in moments, intervene in that reality at its physical site and act as a permanent statement that we're doing. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about Cop Watch. For those of you who don't know what it is, does anyone know who was the first group to do Cop Watch? You can just say it.
Malcolm X.
Malcolm X grassroots movement.
2 answers, but actually not right. It was actually the Black Panther Party in the 70s. Started doing Cop Watch in Oakland. We've adapted the practice as conditions have changed, but a lot of our groups that do Cop Watch, what we do is form teams of community members, and we go out into our neighborhoods and we monitor and document police activity, and we use camcorders. Another way of practicing Cop Watch, and any of you can do this, is to just stop and watch police interactions when you see them occurring. So for us, Cop Watch is both a tactic and a strategy. It's a tactic, meaning it's a tactic for deterrence, right? Meaning we those of us who do Cop Watch have numerous experiences of rolling up on something that looks very hostile and seeing it de-escalate because we're there and we look organized and we're filming. It's also, gathering that documentation is also another way of, recording what's really happening in the streets and hopefully getting it out later on to expose the issue. It's also, Cop Watch is also a base building and a power building strategy because it gives us a chance to build and educate and mobilize our communities. So for us, it's a good night if we're doing Cop Watch and we patrol a neighborhood for several hours and all we do is talk to folks. And we're not actually filming police interactions. And that's as much an important part of it as, actually engaging with or using the video camera or engaging with the police. And for us, this is about, we talk about spreading a culture of Cop Watch in New York. Ultimately, we need to form lots and lots of Cop Watch teams, but ultimately what we hope is that communities that are impacted by police violence, there will be entire communities that are Cop Watch teams. And that it's really about talking to people about what we need to do to keep ourselves safe and to keep each other safe. And so for us, this is one of the ways that we're trying to build systems and provide tools in communities to actually begin to shift some of the power. I think for us, Cop Watch in many ways is at once an act of resistance, it's an act of solidarity, and it's also an act of love because it really is helping us think about giving us space to talk about what we believe community safety is on our own terms. So I'm going to stop there. I think I was asked to say a few words about ways that you can get involved. A bunch of our groups have brought our own sign-up sheets, I think, and put them on the back of the table because we each do different types of work. If you're interested in getting involved with some of the more grassroots strategies, sign up for the People's Justice Listserv. We have a Cop Watch training on the 6th in the Bronx, and we also have a Cop Watch training coming up on the 13th in Queens and Jackson Heights. You can also just stop and watch the cops when you see them in the neighborhood and you see them messing with people. And just take a minute and give up, getting to that meeting on time or, getting to the date on time. Just so that, you can let the rest of the community know and the cops know that folks actually care. Sign the CPR pledge card. That's something everyone can do. It's a minimal way of showing support for the campaign. And also, if you are a representative of an organization and you want to be a part of, become a supporting member organization of the campaign, then you can talk to me, probably me or Nahal, and we can help you do that.
Thank you. So engrossed that I got myself out of order. Our next speaker is Gene Rice. Gene has been homeless for 25 years. He picks up cans for recycling and engages in constitutionally protected freedom of activities such as panhandling. Gene is an avid student of history and was incarcerated in Attica from 63 to 65. Jean has been an active leader of the Civil Rights Committee since 2001. Through his work with the Poverty Initiative at Union Theological Seminary and as a leader of Picture the Homeless, Jean has been instrumental in building a coalition of faith communities to support homeless resistance to poverty and racism. Jean.
Good evening, my sisters and brothers. The reason why my organization, Picture the Homeless, wanted me to be before you this evening is to give you our perspective from the ground, from the grassroots, about what police abuse looks like, why we need to reform current police conduct or misconduct in our society. I submit to you that there's not one New York City citizen that's not impacted by police abuse. You heard in my introduction that I'm a student of history. Well, my studies tell me that whenever a power-hungry, economically greedy status quo sought to subject the masses to oppression, they always started out with the least popular group amongst them. I ask you tonight, who's least popular than the demonized, criminalized, homeless population of New York City? So Picture the Homeless has been saying for over a decade that we interact with your police department more than any other segment of our population. How so? Because the police department does their job on the streets of New York City, where the homeless of New York City are forced to survive. So there's this constant interaction. And like Paul Revere in Boston, we're sounding a call to you that your liberties are in jeopardy. Stop and frisk does not exist